Hello, everyone, and welcome to the InstructLab CLI community meeting. Today is August 29th, 2024. We don't have a lot on the agenda today. The main thing I think that we are going to go over is that we've done some pretty major triaging of the 0.19 milestone, and one of the things to come out of that is some good first issues, which we think would be great for community members to take up. I'll post the link. It's in the agenda as well, but I'll just, put it here so people can easily access it. These are issues that we think people should take up if they have the time or if they want to get involved with the project. And yeah, so the 0.19 milestone as it currently is what we're trying to get done. For 0.19, it's a little big. So items that are P0 on that milestone are the things that we are probably going to try to complete for the release. They're like blocking items. Everything else, P1, 2, and 3, are things that we are going to do our best to get to. But I think there's about 90 something items in the milestone. So we're gonna do our best to get to most of them. But realistically, not everything will get in. So if some of the community members want to take up these issues, a lot of which are in the 0.19 milestone, that would greatly help us a lot and help get engaged in the project. So yeah, we did some triaging here. So if anyone wants to take any of these up and doesn't know where to start, you can feel free to reach out to us in the Upstream CLI Slack channel, which is a newly reinstantiated channel, I would say. We had a front end channel that we thought was a little too vague, given that there was the UI work as well as the CLI work. So having a specific CLI channel and a specific UI channel alongside the front end channel makes the most sense for CLI specific things. Yeah, Nathan, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to add to that. We are keeping that front end channel for kind of more general sort of front endy discussion. So the CLI, the UI things that interact with the sort of back end InstructLab components like the libraries. But then the idea is that more sort of technical discussion, organizational discussion will go into these specific channels. So I just wanted to add that sort of bit of context as well.
Yep. Yeah. So we're keeping all the channels. We just added the new one, basically. And we did a lot of triaging. That's kind of what we've been up to. We're kind of chipping away at some items in the 0.19 milestone. Some of the major ones, I would say, are having some hardware profiling for machines other than NVIDIA, like multi-server GPU sort of things like Mac OS and single GPU configs. That's something that we're working on, as well as some configuration refinement, because we introduced a lot of stuff to the InstructLab config in 0.18, and we're looking to make it a little cleaner and more unified in 19, and make some design choices that we think are going to benefit the users more. So those are two of the main things that we're hoping to work on in 19. That's kind of all that I wanted to bring up, honestly. I don't know if anyone else has any other topics, or if Nathan, you want to bring anything up, but feel free to just have open conversation or ask any questions that you might have. Yeah, Nathan.
I just want to add to that as well. If you do have a topic you'd like to discuss, it'd be very helpful if it was in the agenda, and not so much for the live discussion, but for the sake of being able to guide the conversation, and also so that when folks are looking back over the recording or over the agenda, if they weren't able to attend, that these things are captured there as well. So.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Nathan. Yeah, Costa, go ahead.
Yeah. Hi. Just waiting for camera. Okay, it's okay. It works. So today we had a community meeting with Carol and with two another participants, and they told that they are struggling in installing, updating CLI.
Costa, it sounds like you're going to mute.
Yeah, the audio is pretty weak.
Oh, okay, I can be okay. It's better.
A little bit.
Oh, maybe just
maybe I can
right now. Is it okay?
Yeah, maybe you can try again. If not, I can fill in what we discussed.
Okay, maybe let's try again. So just give me give me a sign that if it's okay or not. Still. So today we had a community meeting, and people complain that it's difficult to reinstall InstructLab because these changes in configuration, changes in the modules, in packages, versions. I've also had some difficulties installing and updating, and I have a script with some automatic updates, and I think that maybe it will be profitable for many users to use a script which installs everything in one run.
Yeah, so to elaborate on what Costa is talking about, Charlie, do you want to go first? Is that something?
Yeah, I mean, we currently do have different make targets for different, installations, right? So we have pip install InstructLab brackets CUDA, and then just like pip install InstructLab. So I don't know what else specifically that people were looking for, but I know if Carol, you have any other context, I'm sure we can try to add stuff.
So I think it was Costa, Vincent, and Jimmy who were on the office hours call. One of the issues they encounter is not just the installation part, but mainly the upgrade path. Like if they already have 0.17 installed and they try to pip upgrade, because the 0.18 have different paths where they put the models, the downloads, the training files, I think. So like the upgrade is not as direct or smooth. Like they end up spending a lot of time finding where the new locations are, whereas if they just did a fresh install, it's actually a lot easier. So I think at this point, because things are moving very fast, it's okay to if the upgrade experience is not perfect, but going forward, we have to. Is there testing like upgrade between versions, how things have changed and how that can affect?
So we currently don't have any sort of backwards compatibility strategy,
Right.
specifically because these are dot releases. So we're not at a 1.0 stability yet. So
Yeah.
upgrading between like 0.17 and 0.18, typically you wouldn't expect a compatibility layer. We are in discussions between 18 and 19 to have more of that compatibility, especially as we version our config. But we did change a lot of the pathing just because of persistent storage stuff that is documented in the release and in the README. So my best suggestion is for folks to go check out the README to see where models and data are now being placed. We don't misplace any models during upgrades. So like if you have models in your working directory, those will still be there. But we do place models that you download after you upgrade in a new location. So that's the best suggestion, I would say. But just as a general rule of thumb, between dot versions, until we get to 1.0 for stability, we're going to implement some sort of backwards compatibility strategy, but nothing concrete, I would say, until we get further down the road, just because these are still not 1.0 stability releases, if that makes sense.
And yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I think it would be good if it may be already there, haven't checked, but to highlight that, try not to upgrade, but just do a fresh install or something. Like make that a highlight the point in the beginning of the release notes or something, so that, because I think a lot of people try to go down the path, oh, I already have 0.17 installed, why don't I just do an upgrade? And they end up spending 3 hours. I think Vincent did 3 hours trying to find out where everything is. Didn't realize that all the paths have changed. And I think even though you keep the previously downloaded models, I don't think they are moved to the new paths, right? So
yeah, and 0.17 to 0.18 was a very, very special case that will never happen again. Just because it has to be taken into consideration that there were like roughly, I think, 1,000 commits and like 3 months between 0.17 and 0.18 because we did all those alphas and betas and RC releases.
Right.
So stuff like that where it's totally different.
Yeah.
We're never going to do something that crazy again now that we have the
Mhm.
storage in place. But we will probably make a more concerted effort to be very clear if we do change anything storage related, because I know there are some issues in the
Mhm.
CLI discussing if we want to change where downloaded or make different locations for like checkpointed models versus downloaded models and stuff like that. So if we do change anything in the future, we'll make sure to put it more clearly in the release notes.
Cool, thanks. And kind of related to that, I think one of the most pressing feedback is that the documentation needs to be updated to reflect 0.18. Do you know what's the progress on that?
So we do. I did go through and I did a README update generally with everything that I caught before we did the 18 release. So the README should be relatively accurate in terms of like how to run the commands. There might be some installation quirks that I didn't quite nail down yet in terms of installing for like CUDA versus Mac OS versus CPU. But just in general, like if you do the pip install InstructLab with brackets, which whatever you want to install for, it should work pretty well. There might be some Llama CPP versus VLLM weirdness, but in general, it shouldn't be that off base, I don't think.
Okay. So currently the main README in InstructLab /InstructLab repo is based on the latest release. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay. Cool. Costa, does that did I cover the points that you have? I know you mentioned your script. Would you like to share it somewhere so that we could take a look and see if that's useful?
It's not ready for sharing, but just
Okay.
a lot of my scripts on or commands which I use to install, update, and something. And I think that it could be useful if there is some demand. For example, I could propose to make a script which installs everything from one shot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, feel free to put it on Slack chat just to get some feedback and see if there's a demand, right? I mean, sometimes we if we don't know what your script really does, it's also hard for us to know whether it's useful. I'll be happy to try it out if you share it. Yeah.
There's a scripts directory in the CLI repo. So I mean, I personally would welcome a PR if if you have a script in the works, Costa, you think assists with the installation, you can post that to PR to add to that directory. It might be something other folks find useful as well.
Mm. Yeah. And feel free to share it, like I said, in either chat or mailing list before you submit a PR if you want to get some idea of whether it's useful. So cool.
Anything else from anyone, or is that the only topic that people wanted to bring up? Or feel free to bring anything up now.
I'll just add one other thing, which is that the 19 milestone, we do plan on going over the milestones in these meetings as well. Right now, like Charlie said at the beginning of the meeting, the 19 milestones still pretty large, and we're still kind of pruning it down a little bit. So that's why we want to highlight the good first issues. Yeah, that is something that we're planning on going over as well. I know there's been questions about sort of like project direction from folks. So right now, a lot of these sort of big items in terms of direction that we're sort of looking into and welcome feedback on are in that milestone as well. So when the milestone's a bit smaller, we'll go over in the meeting. We didn't want to do it in here because it would have been a bit of a slog, but that is open for anyone to see. So feel free to peruse that as well. And yeah, like he said at the beginning of the meeting, like anyone who wants to pick up any of the good first issues, please feel free. And you can ask any questions you might have in that CLI channel, and maintainer and triage teams will try to help you out.
Good stuff.
All right.
Cool. So if nobody else has any topics, I'll stop the recording and stop presenting, and we can adjourn.